settlements. You will be looking at the site and situation, types of types, shapes, and patterns of settlement. We'll be looking at issues in rural settlements. We'll be looking at the land reform. You'll be looking at urban settlements, types of urban settlements. What is an urban profile? Morphology, where we're looking at the street patterns, land use models, and then urban settlement issues, which is traffic congestion and informal settlement, among others. There will be other issues like your overcrowding, your shortages of houses. So those your protest or what protests, or we call them the service delivery protests. So there's a number of issues that you find in urban settlements, but today we'll just focus on informal settlements, and we can just also just quickly go through the traffic congestion. Now, let's look at a typical type of short objective questions. Here is the first question. It says, various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question numbers. So it is very important that you read your leading statements to your question. You cannot start answering the questions before you read your leading statement. Make sure that you understand your leading statement, because it's giving you an instruction, or actually it's giving you a clue, and then the question will give you instruction. Now, the first question is the statement is choose the answer and write only letter A to D next to the question numbers, and then you have those. The first question says, the pattern of the settlement at A is. Now, where is the settlement? The settlement A. And then what is the question saying? It says the pattern. So you need to look at the pattern. Remember, now when you're speaking of the pattern, we have two types of pattern. The patterns that you have either nucleated or you have dispersed pattern. So those are the two patterns that you have. Now, when you look at this, the first thing that you need to do, you need to answer your questions firstly by elimination. Isolated farmstead is not a pattern, and then village is not a pattern. So you only have two choices there. You have dispersed pattern and nucleated pattern. Now you're looking at the settlements here. Are they far from each other or are they close to each other? Then the answer will be that it is a dispersed pattern, because the buildings or the settlements are far from each other. And then the next question says the shape of the settlement at B. So here at B, we are looking at the shape. We're not looking at the pattern now, the shape. So the settlements can be classified according to shape as well. So what is the shape at B? Is it T shape? Okay, this is more than a T. Okay, but this is a shape. You can leave it. This is cross. But this one, you can cancel it out because it's a pattern. And then you have three shapes there. But this does not show any round. Round is not correct. And then T cannot be T. It must be only two roots that are converging there. But now this one, the correct one will be your cross road, because you can see the roads are crossing each other. So that will be the correct one there. Then we're looking at the next one here. The next question is the shape of the settlement at C was determined by there. Now you're looking at the settlement at C. Then you have to go to your key. You have to go to your key so that you are able to identify what is this feature, so that you can know what is this feature. So then the question was proximity to the CBD. Do you see any CBD there? There's no CBD there. Need for privacy. Need for privacy will not indicate any shape. And then, is this a river? So you cancel the river out. So this is a road. So your answer is straightforward there. The shape there is influenced by the road. So, and then As you go again into this settlement, you look at, let's just quickly go back to this settlement. So what we have here, this is one diagram, but this diagram can teach us number of lessons. Number one, what we can learn from this diagram, we can look at now, what do we have here? We have types of settlements. Remember now we have spoken about the pattern here. We have spoken about the pattern here. We said the pattern here is dispersed. Now, it is important. The question might not come as the pattern. The examiner could ask you to give the advantages. Now, what will be the advantage? Let's look at this pattern here. And then sometimes the examiner is very generous when he asks the question. He can ask you what are the advantages of staying at settlement A, or what are the advantages of staying at settlement B. So if the question is like that, it is very, or advantages or disadvantage. If it's like that, then the question is very easy for you. But sometimes the examiner can take that question to another level. He can make it a little bit specific and say, what are the economic advantages of staying at settlement B? So settlement B will be nucleated. What will be the economic advantages? That there will be sharing of resources here. The people that live here will share resources. So it's an economic advantage because they will not spend more money buying resources for themselves. What will be another economic advantage is that they will share the cost as well. They share the resources, they share the costs. But now it can be, what is the economic disadvantage? So when you're looking at this place and say, what is the economic disadvantage? Now you can say, okay, because now they are staying in small, okay, the land is fragmented. The land is fragmented or is broken into smaller area. So the disadvantage is that because the land is small, it means the production is also going to be less. So that is less income for the people. And then you can also look at it, because you were sharing the cost, it means now you will also have to share the profit. So those will be the economic disadvantages. And then what will be, so it can be economic or it can be social. What will be the social advantages? The assistance is closer or help is nearby. There is no social isolation for staying at B. Social advantages is that there is social interaction, assistance is close by. Now, let's look at A now. What will be the economic advantages there? The economic advantage number one, the area is large. Because of the large area, it means there's going to be more production. More production is going to result in more money. But you cannot just say the area is large and leave it at that. That becomes a social advantage. If you make it an economic advantage, you say the area is large, or you say the farms are large, and therefore there's going to be more production that is going to lead into more income. So you must indicate how is that going to help the money part of it. You cannot just say the area is large. And now again, what will be the other advantage? The advantage is that because you are using your equipment alone and you don't share your equipment, you are going to experience less damages, and therefore you're going to save money. But if you are in this nucleated, because you are sharing resources, you are sharing equipment, so the equipment can break often because other people will be not using them correctly, or they will be misusing them, or the equipment will be overused. But here, equipment will be used sparingly, and because it's individual person using the equipment can last longer, and therefore saving money for the owners. So those are the economic advantages there. But the economic disadvantage will be that because you are on your own, you carry all the cost. Because you are on your own, you carry all the cost. And then there could also be something like What are the social disadvantages? What will be the social disadvantages of staying here? There is no social contact. You're going to travel longer distances to the services. So those are the disadvantages that you could get. So from just one diagram like this, you could get a lot of questions and answers from it. Now, let's continue and move to the next question. Okay, we did this. The shape of the settlement at sea is influenced by the road. And then because it is influenced by the road, what will it be? Because the road is in a line form. So this will be called a linear. This will be a linear pattern because it is influenced by the road. Now, let's look at this one. Refer to the hierarchy of settlements below to answer the following question. The settlement at D is dash dash on the hierarchy due to dash dash in the number of services. So when you receive a question like this, all you need to do, you need to interpret here. So what do you have here? You have this diagram. This is the diagram that is indicating, this triangle is indicating hierarchy of settlements. So what is the hierarchy of settlements showing us here? The arrows here are self-explanatory. It says when you move down, what is happening? There is decrease in number of services, and there is also decrease in there is a decrease in number of services. There is a decrease in order of services. So when you go down, you're going to find mostly low order services. Also, what is happening here? There is a decrease in population because the settlements are becoming smaller. Because the settlements are becoming smaller, there's going to be also a decrease in population, and then there's also going to be a decrease in size. So number one is order of goods and services. Population is going to decrease when you go down, and it's also the size is going to decrease. But now when you go on the other side, what is increasing here? The population is increasing when you go up. When you move up the order, in the hierarchy, the population is increasing. Because of the increasing population, the sizes of the settlements is also becoming bigger. Because the size is also becoming bigger, also the order of services is going to also increase. So when you go to capital city, you'll find, you go to conurbation and cities, you find high order services there. And then what is also going to increase there? You said the size, the order, the population is going to decrease. But there is something that is going to decrease here. There's something that is going to decrease when you move up the hierarchy. What is decreasing there is the number of settlements. What is decreasing there is the number of settlements. So the settlements are becoming fewer when you move up the hierarchy. What does it mean? It means you're going to find that there are few cities than large towns. So there will be more towns that come together to make a city. And there will be more small towns that come together to make a large town. So the number of settlements decrease when you move up the ladder. When you move up the hierarchy. When you move up the hierarchy, the number of settlements is going to decrease, but the size is going to increase. And because the size is increasing, also the population is increasing. And the order of services is also increasing when you move up the order. Now, let's look at this question now that we have that background information. It says here, refer to the hierarchy of settlements. And now, the hierarchy of settlement, you must also know what does it mean. Hierarchy of settlements simply refers to the arrangement of settlements or ranking of settlements from the smallest to the largest. That's what we call hierarchy. The ranking of settlements or the arrangement of settlements from the smallest to the largest, or you can look at it in terms of from the largest to the smallest, or smallest to in an ascending or in a descending order, but you are going to be ranking them like that. So it makes it a hierarchy of settlements. So it says below to refer to the hierarchy of settlements below to answer the following question. The settlement at D is dash on the hierarchy. So settlement D, let's go to settlement D and check what is settlement D. So when you look at settlement D is an isolated farmstead. Is an isolated farmstead. So what is the question saying there? The question is saying settlement D is dash on the hierarchy. Is dash on the hierarchy. So you have to choose here. Is it higher or is it lower in the hierarchy? So this is your isolated farmstead. So the correct answer there, it is lower on the hierarchy due to in the number of services. So what is happening in the number of services? Are the services increasing or are they decreasing when you move down? When you move down towards the lowest settlement, is it decreasing or increasing? Because there are fewer people there, then the services are also going to decrease. So what will be the correct answer here? The correct answer is that the settlement at D is lower on the hierarchy due to the decrease in the number of services. Because it is found on the lower level, then the correct answer there will be A, which is Roman figure 1, higher, and 4. Now, here is the next question. It talks about types of settlements. What do we have here in types of settlements here? It says choose the word or the term from column B that matches the picture in column A. Write only the letter Y or Z next to the question number. And then we have all that 1.2.1 up to 1.2.7. Now, it says now we're looking at this settlement here. 1.2.1. Is this a specialized town or is a central place town? So when I'm looking at this, I don't see anything like other settlements around this. So number one, it tells me this cannot be a central place because it is not surrounded by any rural areas. So our first option there, it will be, it is a specialized town. It is a specialized town. And going to 1.2, here it says, what is the settlement here? Is it gateway town or gateway town or gap town, or is it a break of bulk? So I don't see any mountain here and I don't see any gap through the mountain. So number one, I'm saying this cannot be a gap town. But what can I see here? I can see a truck here. A truck is road transport. And I can see here there is a ship, a vessel. Now, this can be a break of bulk. Actually, this cannot be. It is a break of bulk. Why is it a break of bulk point? Because you can see a road and a water transport is replaced by a road transport. So a break of bulk point is where one mode of transport is replaced by another. So you can see cargo coming through the ship and is loaded into the truck. So this is what we call a break of bulk point or break of bulk town. So break of bulk where one mode of transport is replaced by another. Railway replacing water, or in this case it is a road replacing water transport. So it's a break of bulk point. And then what we have here, Gap Town or Cape Town. So what is this town here? I can see there is Hex River Pass. So a pass is a gap through the mountain. So this is not a junction town because I don't see a lot of roads intersecting with each other. So this cannot be a junction town, but it is going to be a, okay, let's finish this one first. We said this one is a break of bulk point, and now this one is going to be a, this is a gap town. It cannot be a junction town. It's a gap because we have here what we call a Hex River Pass. So a pass, which would be the gap on the mountain there. And then what do we have here? We have a town called Kroonstad. So here in Kroonstad, is this a specialized town or is a central place town? If it's a specialized town, what does it specialize in? So we can't think of anything that is specialized in, but here we can see here's a town, and you can see here there's a rural areas here. So what do we call this town now? We can call it a central place town. We call it a central place town. Now you need to be able to define what a central place town is. A central place town is a town that provides urban functions to the surrounding rural area. Is a town that provides urban functions to the surrounding rural area. Or you can simply say it provides goods and services to the surrounding rural areas. So that's what you call a central place town. Now, what you need to know now when you're talking about central place town, you need to know this few concepts. Number one, a range. So here, people that stay in this rural area, they move to the town. So what do we call that? We call that a range. What is a range? Is the maximum distance. A range is the maximum distance. It's a maximum distance that a customer is prepared to travel for goods or for services. A maximum distance that a customer is prepared to travel for goods or for services. And this range that people are going to travel from this place to this place is going to be determined by the order of their goods. If somebody wants, okay, the order of goods, we have two types of order of goods. We have what we call low order goods, and we have what we call high order goods. So what do low order, how do you define low order goods? Low order goods are the goods that are not purchased frequently. Not, excuse me. Low order goods are the goods that are purchased frequently. Low order goods are the goods that are purchased frequently. That's your low order goods, like your bread, like your sweets, like the things that you use on everyday basis. Those are your low order goods, and they are characterized by a short range. You don't travel a longer distance to go and buy bread, even if bread is going to be cheaper on the furthest point. But because you consider the transport cost and other things, you buy it closer to where you are because it's a low order good. And then we also have what we call high order goods. High order goods are what we call specialized goods. High order goods are specialized goods, and they are not purchased frequently. You might be using them frequently, like your phone, like your car. Those are high order goods, but you are not buying them frequently, even if you are using them frequently. So, for an example, when talking about a vehicle, you can buy a car staying in Gauteng. You can buy a car from KZN. Staying in South Africa, you can buy a car from Japan. You can buy a Toyota car from Japan. You can buy a German cars from Germany. You can buy Chinese cars from China. You can wait for the delivery of the car to come into where you are because you don't buy them frequently. So those are your high order goods. Those are your high order goods. We also have what we call high order services. High order services. So high order services are specialized services. For example, we're talking about going to university and going to school. Going to school is not a high order service. Going to primary school, going to secondary school. That is why you find that the people that are going to a particular school are be coming from local area. But when you go to university, for example, when you're looking at the University of Witwatersrand, University of Witwatersrand or Wits University, it attracts students. It attracts students from all over the world. When you go to Wits University, you'll find Chinese people studying there, people from China. You'll find Americans studying there. You'll find people from all over the world because it's a specialized services. It's a high order service. Let's say, for example, you have a headache and you have a small, just a light headache. All you need a grandpa. You can go to a shop and buy it. But if you have a serious migraine, you can even travel to America or Russia or Italy or wherever you can travel to, where you will find a specialist. You can travel all over the world to go and receive your specialist doctors. But for a simple headache that needs grandpa, it's a low order service. So you don't need specialized assistance for that. You just need to just water and grandpa, and you are sorted. Then we also have what we call centers. Like I said, your school is a law order center because it attracts people from just around where you stay. So what does that mean now? It means now, when you're speaking of it attracting people, what do we call these people? The people that are using the services are called threshold population. So, in definition, when you define threshold population, you say is the maximum number of people required to make business profitable. Maximum number of people required to make business profitable. We call that threshold population. So, which means now, Wits University has a higher threshold population than your school that you are studying at. Your school that you're studying at has a lower threshold population because it's a low order center and doesn't have specialized goods and specialized services. But Wits University is a specialized center and therefore it has got bigger threshold population. And because it's got bigger threshold population, remember we said threshold population is the minimum number of people required to make business profitable. Minimum people required to make business profitable. We call that threshold population. And then where does these people come from? Where does these people come from? The people come from an area called sphere of influence. What is sphere of influence? Is an area that provides business with customers. An area that provides business with customers. For example, your school, your local school, the threshold, the sphere of influence for your school is the area where you're coming from, which is close by. But when you're looking at the sphere of influence for Wits University, it is the entire world. The entire world. It gets people from all over. It gets people from all over. But it does not mean that it's going to accommodate everybody. But the people that go to that university will be coming from all over. It attracts people from all over the world. But I can't imagine somebody who will Google your school and decide to come and study at your school because coming from America or coming from anywhere far, because it is a low order center and it provides low order services. So it's got a small sphere of influence, which is your local area, and it's got a smaller sphere of it got small sphere of influence, which is your local area, and small threshold population, which is the entire people that are coming from your local area. That is what you need to know about the central place theory. So another question that examiner can ask was being, why is Kroonstad considered to be a central place town? Why is Kroonstad considered to be a central place town? It is considered to be a central place town because it provides goods and services. So when you get that kind of question, don't be thinking, why is it central? Oh, it's in the center, is what. Don't think like that. When they say, why is it considered to be a central place town? You just need to define what is a central place town. It's considered to be central place town because it provides goods and services to the surrounding rural areas, or because it provides urban functions. Remember, we said urban settlements are specializing, they are multifunctional. Urban settlements are multifunctional. What did we mean by multifunctional? It means they have more than one function. What is a function? Function of a settlement refers to the economic activities. It refers to the economic activities. So urban areas are multifunction. They have more than one economic activity. Number one, they have what we call secondary activity. That is where there is manufacturing, and they have tertiary. That is where there is provision of services. I did not put a quaternary here because quaternary cannot be strictly in rural areas or in urban areas. The quaternary services are ubiquitous. They could be found anywhere. They could be anywhere. They could be in rural areas, they could be in urban areas. So that is why we don't say it provides secondary, tertiary, and quaternary services, because you can get a research center somewhere in the deepest rural areas or furthest in the bushes away from where people stay. So it is not Also, you can find it right in the middle of the city, like many research centers that you find in the city. So, but it is not necessarily that they must be in the city. Okay, let's continue. I hope you understand what is a central place theory. Now, let's go to the next question. The next question here, if you look at this question and the previous question, you'll notice there's a lot of similarities here. It says here, refer to the source material below, choose the correct word or words from those given in brackets, write only the words or the word next to the question numbers. So it is very important. You see what I'm seeing, what I'm doing here. I am reading this instruction of the question. I don't just quickly rush through answering. I read through the instruction so that I can know what the examiner is expecting me. Do they want me to write alphabets only, or do you want me to write the names or words? So it's very important that you read. It says choose, write only the word or the word. So it's very important that you go through that. You understand what does the question want from you. It says the type of settlement in the figure is a rural or urban settlement. So this settlement, or what we see here, it is rural settlement. It is very clear. This settlement, why do we say it's rural? Because you can see there's cultivation there, or there's cultivated land there. You can even see there, and you can also see the word farm boundary, indicating that there is a farm there. So it will be a rural settlement. And remember, when we're speaking of rural settlement, we say a settlement is rural because of its function. Because of its function. Rural settlements are unifunctional and they focus or they dominate mostly. The dominant economic activity is primary activities. What are primary activities? Is your fishing, is your farming, is your forestry, it is mining and hunting. So these are the example of a primary activities. So when you say a settlement is primary, we are classifying as when you say a settlement is rural, we are classifying a settlements according to function. And then when you're saying a settlement is nucleated, we are classifying settlement according to a pattern. And when you say a settlement is a metropolis or it is a conurbation or is a town, we are classifying a settlement according to the size and complexity. So sometimes you can be asked a question in those lines. The settlement is rural because of, then the options will be, is it because of population size? Is it because of pattern? Is it because of function? Or is it because of any other thing? So if they say the settlement is rural, you must know it is because of function. It is not because of pattern and it's not because of size. If they say the settlement is a town, it is because of size and complexity. Is it because of pattern? You must know once we say town or we give isolated farmstead, we say what town, small town, village, it's because of size and complexity. And when you say the settlement is nucleated, it's not because of the size, it's not because of the pattern, it's not because of the size, it's not because of the shape, is because of the pattern. So you must be careful how we classify settlements. Okay, let's continue. These settlements are associated with primary, tertiary economic activities. It's rural settlement, so it is primary. We'll quickly go through that. It's primary settlement. It is rural, so it is primary. The physical factor that contributed to the choice of site of this settlement. Now you must know what is site. A site is a precise piece or exact piece of land where a settlement is found. So what influenced this? Is it built on the mountain? No, it is the factor. The factor that influenced the site here is water or mountain. So it is water because you can see river there. So why will river influence the site of the rural settlements? Water is used for irrigation. Cultivation at A is more likely to be small scale or large scale in nature at A. Now look at A and look at B and look at C. So when you look at this diagram and you look at the diagram on the previous pages, you can see that the questions and the diagrams are the same. It's just that there's different diagrams that are used here, but they are the same in terms of the what they are indicating. So what you see here and what you see here is the same. Is the same. So what are you looking at here? You are looking at A here. You are looking at an isolated farmstead. You are looking at an isolated farmstead, and here you are looking at a nucleated settlement here. But here it is dispersed pattern. It is a dispersed pattern. Here it is nucleated. Now, when you are looking at A, more likely to is it more small scale or large scale at A? At A is more likely to be large scale. Why? Because it is isolated and therefore there's large land that is available. But at B, it will be more likely small scale because it's very close to each other and therefore the land is going to be fragmented. So when you're looking at this diagram, is the same diagram as the diagram that we started with. So I hope you can see the similarity between the two diagrams. Settlement A may be ranked lower or higher. So settlement A is the same. This is the same question. This is the same question as this one, the settlement at D. So settlement at D is the same as settlement at A. It will always be ranked lower. This settlement will be ranked lower. So it's the same settlement. It's the same. A is same as D in the other diagram. A is the same as D in the other diagram. So the settlement A will be ranked lower because it is an isolated farmstead than settlement B on the settlement. So settlement B here will be your hamlet. You can see it's a loose grouping of isolated farmstead, but that one is an isolated farmstead. Then they say the settlement shape at C is stellar or linear. So we go to C. Where is C? I can't see C here. Okay, I'm looking for C. The settlement at C is a stellar, or is it? Okay, now here is our settlement C. It's shown here. Is it stellar? Stellar will mean that there is more than one intersection. More than one intersection will result in a star kind of shape. Stellar will result, more than one intersection will result in a star shape. But here, I don't see intersection, I just see one road here. So it cannot be stellar. The correct answer there will be linear because you can see it's in a line form. The shape of the settlement C is determined by the access to water or transport. So you're looking at settlement C here. You're looking at the settlement C, and it is clearly written there, road. So the shape there is not influenced by water, but it is influenced by transport. Now, pollution or soil erosion is more likely to affect the farmers in settlement C. So now when you're looking at here, you can see the area here is steep. So usually rural areas do not experience a lot of pollution, but they do experience a lot of soil erosion. So because of that, the correct answer there will be soil erosion because it's on a steeper gradient, and so it is more likely to be affected by soil erosion after precipitation or because of wind or because of any other agent of soil erosion. But the correct answer there will be soil erosion. Okay, let's move to the next question. Now, let's look at this concept of settlement. Now, a decrease in rural population is going to result in rural depopulation. Okay, now when I want us to look at these concepts, how they build up. I want us to look at these concepts, how they build up. Number one, we have the concepts called rural-urban migration. What is rural-urban migration? It's the movement of people from rural areas to urban areas. Movement of people from rural areas to urban areas. So rural-urban migration is going to result in a decrease in population for rural area. Rural urban migration is going to result in a decrease in the population in rural area. What do you call that? What do you call that? We call it rural depopulation. So when that happens, it's going to result because the people have moved out of rural areas. Where did they go to? They went to urban area. So what's going to happen to the number of people in urban area? Is going to increase. The number of people in urban area increases. Now, what do we get there? We have what we call urban growth. Urban growth. So number one, what do we have? Rural urban migration, the movement of people from rural areas to urban areas. What happens when people move out of rural areas? The population decrease. What happens when people move into urban areas? The population increase. What do we call that concept where population increase? Urban growth. Now, once these people move in urban area and the population increase, what is going to happen now? What's going to happen now? These people are going to have more needs. They need more houses. They need more schools. They need more churches. They need more shopping centers. They need more everything, more industries. So what's going to happen now? The urban area was this such. Now we start expanding this urban area. We start expanding urban area. So what do we call that now? We call it urban expansion. We call it urban expansion. We call it urban expansion. So what is an urban expansion? So urban expansion is a physical growth of urban area. Is a physical growth of urban area. We call it urban expansion. Why does urban expansion? Urban expansion occurs because of urban growth. What is urban growth? Increasing a number. Increasing a number increases the needs of the people. So once the needs of the people increase, now we have to make urban areas bigger by building more houses, more schools, more roads, more shopping centers. And then what happens now? We're going to have what we call urban expansion. So urban expansion refers to the physical increase in the urban area. Now we have more schools. And now, when we eventually now look at the urban area, then we say we have this population, 20% of people found in rural area, and we have 80% of the population that is now found in urban area. Now we're comparing now the proportion in terms of the percentage. We compare the proportion. Now, what do we say now? We say what has taken place now. We say what has taken place now is urbanization. What has taken place now is urbanization. So what is urbanization? Is the increase in the proportion of the people living in urban area, or is simply the increase in the percentage of the people living in urban area. So you see, it builds up. But where does it start? It started first in rural depopulation where people move to urban areas. When people move to urban areas, they decrease in rural areas, which is rural depopulation, and they increase in urban area, which is urban growth. And once they increase, they are having more needs. Then we start to build more houses for them, more schools for them. Then the urban area expand. We call that urban expansion. Now, once we have that urban expansion, now we look at urban area, more people or higher percentage of people in urban area than in rural area. So what do you call it? We call it urbanization. Then what do we have lastly now? We have now what we call urban sprawl. Now, it means now urban area is now growing into, it's uncontrollably growing, or our wetlands are now going to be destroyed, the natural vegetation is going to be destroyed. Now, it is the formless increase or the formless growth of urban settlement. We call it urban sprawl. Now, it's undesirable growth of urban area, or it's a formless expansion of urban area. That is what we call urban sprawl. Now, with that background, let's quickly try to answer this question. The process whereby an ever increasing percentage. So once we speak of a percentage, it refers to urbanization. Now, we have this other concept here that is called level of urbanization. So what is level of urbanization? It means it is the proportion of urbanization in a particular area. Let's say, for an example, if one country has 70, has got 30%, and the other one has got This is urban, this is country A, and this is country B. If country A has 80% of its population living in urban area, and country B has 70% of its population living in urban area. Now, country A will have higher level of urbanization than country B. So country B will have lower level of urbanization. Then we have another concept of rate of urbanization. So rate of urbanization is the speed at which urbanization is taking place. So what do you mean by that? In poor countries where rural areas is heavily stricken by poverty, in poor countries where population in rural area is suffering a lot of poverty, we are going to experience the high rate of urbanization. There's going to be more people moving out from rural areas to urban areas. So the rate refers to the pace or the speed at which urbanization is taking place. But the level it simply refers to the proportion in terms of the level at which the percentage is already living in urban area. It can be low. So the level of urbanization is higher in developing countries. There are few people that want to go to rural areas. In developed countries, in the developed countries, the level of urbanization is high. In developed countries, the level of urbanization is high, and therefore there are few people that want to leave their rural areas. People that are living in rural areas in those rich countries, they are content, they are happy to stay there. So the level of urbanization is high. But the rate of urbanization is low in those rich countries. They are not rushed. They are not rushing out of rural areas. But in poor and developing countries, the level of urbanization is lower, but the rate is high because there is high poverty in rural areas. So the people are moving out of rural areas. They want to go to urban areas. Now the rate is high, but the level is low for poor countries. So that is the level of urbanization and the rate of urbanization. So unplanned increase of urban areas, this will be your urban sprawl, or just uncontrolled or unplanned increase of urban area. And then increase in the number of people living in urban areas, increase in number. Now, when you're speaking of number, it is growth. But when you're speaking of percentage, it is urbanization. The ranking of settlements according to size and function, that is your hierarchy of settlements. And then movement of people from urban areas to rural areas, that is your counter urbanization. And then increase in the actual or physical size of urban area, this is your urban expansion. This is your urban expansion. That is the increase in physical area. Now, when we have more shops and more buildings. Trying to move forward here. This mouse of mine is playing some tricks on. And some people that are doing CAT, they were writing about the disadvantages of using cordless mouse. Cordless mouse is that the battery can jam. So that's one of the things. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, we did these questions. Now, so these are the concepts. Like at the beginning, I said, please master your concepts. If you master your concepts, you're going to make sure that for all your short order questions, your 7 and 8 marks, you get them all. And then the minimum marks that you need, which can never be a target for anyone, especially somebody who's in my class, the target can never be 45%. But the minimum requirements that you need to pass paper 1 is 45 marks. You cannot pass by 45 marks. It's too little. You need to get at least 70 marks, 50% at least. And that is possible. What makes it more possible is when you know all your concepts, when you master your concepts, because it's so easy to master your concepts. Now, let's look at this. These are the same questions as the one on the previous slide. The increase in the percentage of people living in urban areas. So we have already done that. It is urbanization. We know urban expansion is the physical increase in urban area. It refers to the increase in the actual number. So the actual number is urban growth, and we know the sphere of influence is where the business draw customers from. That is your sphere of influence. The minimum number of customers required to serve for a service to make profit. This is your threshold population, and your optimum population simply referred to the maximum population that can be found per unit area. And we have a zone of mixed function adjacent to the CBD. So that will be your zone of decay. Another name for zone of decay is your transition zone. Another name there is your transition zone. So it's a zone of decay. That is the area of high value. The zone of decay, the characteristics of zone of decay is that the land value is high, but the buildings are not taken good care of. The land value is high, but the buildings are not taken good care of because number one, they could be hijacked, they could be abandoned. So it's characterized by dilapidated buildings. This is the area that is just found outside the CBD. You must know the land value is high, but the quality of buildings has dilapidated. And then when we're talking about the zone of decay, that is when now we can talk of what we call now urban renewal. Because of the poor state of the buildings in the urban areas, what do we have? We have what we call urban renewal, where there is an improvement of the buildings. Number one, we have this what we call gentrification or Chelseafication. Gentrification or Chelseafication. This is simply referring to a house that was 2 rooms or 3 rooms is made to be 10 rooms or bigger, or a house that was dilapidating is improved. So that is gentrification. It's simply referring to renovations of houses. And then the next one is this one that we call what do you call this? We call it facadism. We know of facadism. So what are people doing here? They preserve the face of the building. They preserve the face of the building or the facade of the building. So gentrification, let me quickly go back to gentrification. Gentrification can also be called Chelseafication. It can also be called Chelseafication. So what is happening there? It's simply renovations of buildings. You make them beautiful again, or you improve them. Now, facadism. What is happening there? The old structure that have got some sentimental meaning to the owners. The people do not completely renovate them like they will do in gentrification. In gentrification, you'll see a completely new structure from the beginning, or it has been changed without preserving any part of the building. But with facadism, what's happening is that the face of the building is preserved because it's got some value or some sentimental value to the owners. So the only rare part of the building or the part at the back of the building is the one that is being renovated and improved on. But the face of the building is changed. I mean, the face of the building is maintained because it's got some value to the owners. So that process, we call it facadism. And then the last one is what we call succession and invasion. Succession and invasion. So succession and invasion, what's happening here? I own a house. I sell a house to somebody. The person who comes into my house doesn't want to use this as a residential. What does he do now? He turned this into surgery. He's going to be working there as a doctor. So now the land use for my house, the house belonged to what we call residential. Now, once it is no longer residential now, it is now used for business. It means now one land use replaces another. So that's what we call succession and invasion. This is what we call succession and invasion. So these are the strategies that we do for urban renewal. This is urban renewal strategies. So our zone of decay or transition zone, it's going through those in order to preserve and in order to restore the buildings in the zone of transition, because that is where you find there's a lot of urban decay. There's a lot of urban decay. There's a lot of dilapidation of buildings in the zone of decay. So these are the strategies that are used in order to revive or sustain or resuscitate the beauty of the buildings in the zone of decay, because they are not well kept off. And why are they not well kept off? Because the owners are no longer there, because they have been hijacked, and therefore they are poorly serviced. There's no services, uh, like the one building in Marshalltown that resulted in a disaster there, or because what happened is that the building was not well serviced, and there was people could not escape because the fire escaped were closed, and so forth and so forth. So that is the characteristics of the buildings that you will find in the zone of decay or in the transition zone. We said the zone of transition or transition zone or zone of decay is characterized by high land value, but the houses value they are poor because of poor maintenance. Now let's continue. This contains mix of land uses like airports and sewage work. Is it transition zone or is it rural urban fringe? It cannot be transition zone, because transition zone you find it just outside the CBD. So the correct answer there will be rural urban fringe. That is where you find that. And the side view of the city from the city outwards, is it called urban profile or is it called urban morphology? So it is called urban profile. That's the side view of the city. So what is urban morphology? It simply refers to the shape of the city. So when you're looking at urban morphology, what are you going to be looking at? You'll be looking at the internal structure of the city. You'll be looking at the external structure of the city. So what will be looking at? You'll be looking at the street patterns. You'll be looking, is it a grid iron? Is it irregular? Is it radial? So that is when you're looking at the morphology. You're looking at the internal structure of the city. Then another question is uncontrolled growth or expansion of urban areas. We know that is your urban sprawl. That is your urban sprawl. Okay, now we move on to the next question now. Quickly go through this. Okay, I have challenges with the mice. I don't know the plural of mouse and mice. All right, fine. Okay. Now let's look at your data response questions. Let's look at your data response question. Tips for answering these questions: always read the data or information source before you attempt a question. So remember, you are given a 10 minutes reading time before you start answering the question. Remember, when you get your question paper, read through the questions and decide why are you going to start. Are you going to start answering with question 3, map work? Are you going to start answering with question 2, economic geography? Or are you going to start with question 1, rural and urban settlement? You must make that decision. You are not forced to start with question 1, followed by question 2 or question 3. So long as you're going to answer all the questions, because all the questions are compulsory, you can choose to start with any question. Use approximately 5 minutes to read the data. If you it gives you a mental image of what the information is about. You will be able to anticipate questions, because as you read the questions and you read the data and whatever it is in front of you, you can also be knowing what to write. It's just that you are not allowed to write during reading time. If you were allowed, you could be writing on it, but you cannot be writing on the question paper. You can be imagining what all those things. You can be writing your mental sentences on your head about whatever diagram you have there. Now, let's quickly go through this land reform. Land reform is another typical examination question. Dear learners, land reform is another typical examination question. My advice to you is make sure that you master land reform. So, what is land reform? Land reform simply refers to the policies that redress. Land reform simply refers to the policies. What are the policies doing? The policies are doing redress. The policies that redress. So redressing is trying to correct. So the redressing is to correct. These are the policies that redress the injustices of apartheid. Now, under land reform, we have four policies there. Actually, we have three policies. Number one, this is land redistribution. Land redistribution. Land redistribution. So what happened during apartheid? The land was distributed to people. During apartheid, land was distributed to people, but the land was distributed unfairly. So what is this policy of land redistribution doing? It is redistribution is trying to now provide land to people that were previously disadvantaged, giving land to the previously disadvantaged people or communities for agriculture and for residential. So that is your land redistribution, is giving land to the previously disadvantaged people for agriculture or for residential. So that's your land redistribution. Then you have the next policy. The next policy is land restitution. Restitution. Restitution from the word reinstate. So restitution from the word reinstate. To reinstate is when you take something when you put something in its original state. So land restitution, people are giving their land back or people are being compensated for their land. People are giving their land back or people are being compensated for their land. So that is land restitution. So it's either people will be given their original land back. If they cannot get their original land back, they'll be given an alternative land. If they cannot get an alternative land or they don't want the alternative land, they can be given money to buy their own land. So that is land restitution, when people are giving their land back or they are compensated for their land. And the last one is what we call land tenure. Land tenure. So what is land tenure doing? Land tenure is protecting people's rights for the land, protecting people's rights to the land. That is your land tenure. So what does land tenure do? It protects people's rights to the land in which way? For example, if a person is renting a particular building or a particular house, and then an owner of that house feels that that person, he wants his house back, the person cannot just chase a person out of the property. They need to find an alternative for that particular person if they want that person out. Or you are working in a farm, but you are no longer productive. A farmer cannot just chase you away before finding you an alternative area to stay. So that is your land tenure, is protection of people's rights to occupy the land. And then restitution is when the land is given back to people or people are compensated. And redistribution is when the land is given to the previously disadvantaged people for residence or for farming or for any other purpose. Now let's look at question 2. It says 1.3, which evidence from the article suggests that claiming back land is a success in our area? So not going to go into this question because this question is not actual concept. Is in particular is direct to the concept. Is direct to the concept. I'm not necessarily going to go into this question because You're not going to get any question on this. You're not going to get this again. You're going to get some different one. So this is a low order question. You just need to read the extract and get the answer there. Explain the challenge faced by the Bino family in terms of water. Also, this one, it's just directly referring to the concept. I choose not to go into this one because we have to go through a lot of things. I will look only into the concept matters, which are possible examination questions even for future examination. But these ones that you can simply get the answers from this one, I think it will not help us a lot going through that. Explain why Bino family's land reform is a success story. Also, that one, it refers to this extract. Why is this a success story? Is because they got their land back. So I am going to talk about this one. In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain why the process of land reform is advancing slowly. So this is a concept that you need. It's not based on any extract, this one. It's something that you need to take into the classroom. It's something that you need to learn. But these kind of questions are the questions, these are the low order questions that you're going to get the answers from the extract that you'll be reading. But this one here, the reason why the process of land reform is advancing slow in South Africa. First reason is because of the lengthy process, because of the long processes. The processes are long. And number two, why is it advancing so slow? Because there is willing buyer, which is the government, but there's a willing buyer and there is unwilling seller. Unwilling seller. People do not want to sell the land that they own. Number three, why this is taking this long is because people do not have proof. No proof. There is no proof. People cannot prove that this is my land. And because of people do not have proof to prove that this is their land, that is why it takes longer distance. That's why it takes longer distance. And another reason would be because lack of funds. Lack of funds. For you to go to court, you need a lawyer. So if people don't have funds, they might not have somebody to represent them in court. They might not have somebody to represent them in court. And other reason why it will take this long is simply because of it is because of corruption. That's another reason. That's another reason why people will not, why this process will take long, will take long, because there could be people that are bribing their ways through the cases and other things. Now, let's look at the other question here. The other question on land reform again. So, my advice is pay attention to your land reform. Make sure that you understand what land reform is. Land reform, we said land reform refers to the policies that redress. Okay, define the term land reform. We spoke about that. Quote 3 important factors from the extract that South Africa's land reform program is ignored. I said this kind of question is a question that is direct from the extract. You can read through the extract. Provide one reason why land reform is necessary in South Africa. Okay, this one is not based on any extract. This is a concept. Why is it important to have land reform in South Africa? Number one, it is important to give people their land back. Give people land back. It is important so that people can get their land back. It is important so that it can improve food security. How will land reform help to improve food security? When people have land, they can do farming. Again, why is it important? People are staying in informal settlements so that people can have residential area. People can have residential area. People have residential area. They can have a places to stay. So provide one reason why land reform is necessary in South Africa. So it is necessary. Why is it necessary again? It is necessary so that we can redress the injustices, because that is the purpose of land reform, is to redress the injustices. So these are some of the reasons. Explain challenges associated with land reform that cause the government not to achieve their goal. So here you just go back here. What is this? Is the same question in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines. Explain why the process of land reform is advancing slowly. So this question, where am I now? This question is the same here. Explain 2 challenges associated with land reform that cause the government to achieve their goal. So it's the same question. It's the same question. We said number 1, it is because long processes, willing buyer but unwilling seller, or the land being expensive. One of the things is that land is expensive, so the government cannot afford to buy the land so that it can give it to other people that are needy. There is no proof that the land belonged to somebody else, so it takes forever trying to prove their point. There is lack of funds for people to pursue their court cases. They get tired along the way and they forfeit their land. There could be corruption that is associated with that. There could be people not knowing what to do. This is a very open-ended question. Try to think when you're in an examination room. There's a number of answers that we can give here. So this extract and the previous extract have the very same questions. Explain 2 methods that the government can put in place to assist the people that have been relocated due to land reform. Put in place to assist the people that have been relocated due to land reform. Now, after you have been given your land back, it's a farmland. You are unable to use this land profitably. What can the government assist? How can the government assist people that have been given the land? Number 1, the government can provide them with funds to start the farming. The government can do skill training. Number 1, we're saying the government can provide them with funds so that they can start farming. Funds to start farming. The government can provide them with skill development so that they can know what to do as farmers. Number 1, the government can also do what we call collaboration. The government can collaboration of new and experienced farmers. So the government can start the process of collaboration so that the old farmers can teach the new farmers how to become a successful farmer. So there is a lot, because once a farmer gets into a place and they don't know what to do, the land will be useless because it cannot benefit them. So it's better if those people can be helped to use that land fruitfully for themselves. So they can be given funds, they can be given skills, there can be collaboration. You can think of number of factors there's the number of factors that the government can assist people with. It's endless. These are open-ended questions. You just have to think how a person can use the land, and then how can the government assist them. So these are open-ended questions. This is where you should score all your marks from. Define. Okay, now this is what you went through when you're writing your prelim examination. This comes from the Gauteng one. Define the term land redistribution. We have already described this, defined this concept. We said it is when the land is given to the previously disadvantaged people for farming purposes and for residential. Quote from the passage above, land reform is necessary in post-apartheid. I said this is directly from the extract, but remember now we are preparing for a new examination. So it's not going to help us a lot to just go through that extract because you're not going to get that extract again. You're going to get a new extract. So what's important is we need to look at the concepts there. State an advantage of land reform evident in the image. Okay, that one is important. What are the advantages of land reform? The advantages of the land reform. People can do farming, people can have houses, the quality of people can improve. So those are the advantages of land reform. So this is a concept. So it is not directly from even if here it refers to looking at the extract, but this is a concept, which means now you need to know the advantages of land reform. What are the advantages of giving people land? What are the advantages of people giving land? So that people's quality of life can improve, so that there can be food security, so that people's dignity can be restored, so that people can have residential area. So there are a number of reasons. So number one, improve the quality. Let's say improve quality of life, residential. People can have place that they call home. Improve food security. Okay, so there are a number of reasons of the advantages of land reform. Suggest challenges experienced in implementation of land reform in South Africa. So these are the challenges that we already have stated. So it shows you the similarity. So dear learners, make sure that you understand everything that you need to understand about land reform. You need to be able to define the three policies. You need to know the advantages. This is what you need to know regarding land reform, the importance. Why is land reform important? Number two, you need to know the challenges that the government is facing during the implementation of land reform. And then you need to also know, okay, this is the importance. Explain the positive impact of land reform on rural communities in South Africa. We said, so this question and the previous question, so same advantages, explain the positive impact of land reform on rural communities in South Africa. What will be the positive impact? People can grow food. Number one, is going to improve in food security because people have land. Number two, what's going to happen there? People can also benefit from owning the land. It's going to improve the GDP of the country, or it's going to improve the economy of different communities. So those will be the important of land reform. Explain the positive impact of land reform on rural communities. Number one, food security. So it's almost the same as the previous questions. It's almost the same as the previous questions. So the positive impacts are the same. The positive impacts are the same here. Now, let's look at this one. This one is referring to the land use zones. So you must know there's a difference between land use zone and land use. There's a difference between land use zones and land use. When you're talking about green belts. Green belts are the land uses in a city, but they are not land use zones because they are not tied to a particular place. Green belts are not tied to a particular place. What are green belts? These are the parks in the city. So they are not found in a particular place. They can be found anywhere. They can be found anywhere. So they are not found in a particular place. So they are not a land use zone. but they are simply land uses. But when you're talking about CBD, CBD is a land use zone because CBD is found in the city center. And then transition zone is a land use because it's found outside the CBD. So it can be found in a particular place. And the high income land use zone because they can be found in a particular place further away from the CBD because they are avoiding noise. Heavy industry is found closer to the transport or bulk transport routes and away from residential and away from the CBD. So they have a particular place where you can find them. But when you're talking about your green belts can be your parks. You can find them closer to the CBD. You can find them in the outskirts of the CBD. You can find them in the middle of residential area. You can find them outside the residential area. You can find them anywhere. So they are not the land use zones, but they are the land use because they are not found in a particular place. Now, let's look at the questions here. Identify the land use zone indicated by A here. This will be your central business district. Provide evidence from the sketch to support that this is a central business district. In characteristic, we say CBD is the most accessible. So what is the evidence here? This is because it is the most accessible. Roads, many roads or transport roads, can say roads or transport routes are converging in the CBD. So because it is the most accessible. But this most accessible also makes a problem for the CBD because it is the most accessible, so it experiences a lot of traffic congestion. So its accessibility can create inaccessibility again. Because it is accessible, everybody wants to go there. Everybody will also struggle to get there because it's going to result in traffic congestion and people will not be able to reach that place easy. So that is why now its accessibility creates an inaccessibility on its own because it is accessible because of the roads, but it's not easy to get to the city using those roads because of traffic congestion. Then provide evidence from the sketch to support your answer. We have that said that all transport routes are converging there. Identify a commercial activity in Parkville City that has been decentralized. So what is being decentralized here? This is the shopping center. What has happened there is what we call decentralization. The shops have moved from the city center to the periphery. So this concept of centralization and conglomeration. Okay, we'll do that when we do economic geography. Let's quickly go through centralization. We'll do conglomeration when we go to economic geography so that we can see what is the difference between that conglomeration and centralization. Explain why the activity mentioned in question 1.43 has been decentralized. Why have why are businesses taking their businesses away from the city center? Why are the shops moving away from the city center? Number one is because of this high pollution in the city center, because the city centers are not accessible because of traffic congestion, because of high crime, because of high rent. So number one, there is high crime. This one is a concept. High rent. There's a lot of pollution. It's important to state that there is traffic congestion, and this traffic congestion is going to affect the services there because the services and the quality of work that is done. Because number one, people are going to arrive late at work. When people arrive late at work, they will be less productive, and there's going to be a lot of problems there if people are late, and therefore the production in the particular area or in the particular industry is going to be less. So these are the challenges that are making people to leave to leave the CBD to go to the periphery. The land use model depicted in the sketch above closely resembles the multiple nuclei or third world. Now, what do you see here? You see There is a heavy industry there. What you can see, there's a shopping center there. You can see there's a light industry. So what you have there, this will be a nucleus. People will go there to go and work there, find jobs. People can go there to find jobs. People will go there to find jobs. So there is more than one type of attraction here. So that is why we are going to call it multiple nuclei, the model. Remember your land use model. Your land use model are simply indicating the relationship between the land use zones. The land use model are simply showing the relationship between the land use models. And not land use models, land use zones. And by that, I mean now we are going to be talking about compatibility of land use zone. So you have heavy industry here and you have high residential area. You can see this one is found on the other side of the CBD and the other one is found on the other side of the CBD. Because number one, they are incompatible. They are incompatible. They cannot be found in the same area because the other one is going to affect the other. So when you speak of compatibility of land use zone, it means can this land use zone be found next to another without affecting it? Can this land use zone exist with this land use zone without them affecting each other negatively? So that's what we mean by land use. That's what you mean. If we're saying this is compatible with this one, like for example, now you have light industries here, and next to the light industries, we have your low income residential. Are they compatible? Yes, they are compatible because the low income means they earn less salary, and now they are closer to the workplace. They are closer to the workplace, and you know that light industries don't pollute a lot. So they are compatible because they are closer to each other. And you can even see even the distance from here. You can even see the distance to the heavy industries themselves. It's not that long. So it shows that people that are having low income don't have to spend more money going to work. You don't have to spend more money going to work. So they must be closer to the workspace. And you can see also these people are working from the CBD or they are working in the CBD. So they are closer to the CBD. So it shows the compatibility of the land use zones. Can they be found closer to each other without affecting one another? And you can see now we have a power station and a heavy industry. Are these two land use zones compatible? Yes, they are compatible because you use coal, you generate electricity here, and the heavy industry require that. And the two industries cause almost the same kind of pollution or the same kind of air pollution. So the other one is not going to destroy the other one. So the two land use zones will be this what we call this area over here. This will found mostly on the rural urban fringe. You'll find them mostly on the rural urban fringe where there is large land and the land is flat. So this one will be compatible. Compatible. This is compatible. Compatible meaning that they can coexist. They can be found in one place without affecting the other. So this is the continuation of the land use zones. State the main type of land use zone in rural area. So without any doubt, the main land use zone in rural area is farming, is agricultural. The main land use in rural areas is agricultural. What type of rural settlement is settlement B? Settlement B. What is the kind of settlement here? You can see there's one house there. So you can say this is an isolated. This is a dispersed. This is a dispersed settlement. Give a visible reason for your answer. Why do you say? You can see there's a single house there. So it's a isolated or dispersed. Describe two advantages of living in settlement A, which is isolated, than A, which is, sorry, A is nucleated and B is isolated. Now, describe two advantages of living in settlement A rather than in settlement B. So, what are the advantages? Now, the examiner here was very, very, very friendly. The examiner here was very friendly. He gave a very open question. He didn't give give the, he didn't say describe two advantages. He didn't say describe two economic or social. He didn't. He was not specific. So it is a very generous question. So it is open to many answers. It is open to many answers. So you can look at the social advantages, you can look at economic advantages. Will always be correct for giving any of those. But you must describe two advantages of living in settlement A rather than in settlement B. So you must compare. So in settlement A, because you are closer to each other, and then therefore, help is going to be near. That will be the social. And then in B, because you are on your own, it is not so safe. There's no help around. Here, you can also say in A, the advantage is that you don't travel longer distance to the services because it's mutilated. But in B, you travel longer distances to the services because it is isolated. And you can say in A, the advantages at A. What are the advantages at A except you travel shorter distances? Um, you will share cost here at A. You will share costs. You will share cost, but at B, you are going to have all the cost yourself. But now, when you're looking at the advantages and disadvantages that you are giving here, the advantages and the disadvantages that you are giving there, you can make them economic or you can make them social. You can choose whatever you want because the examiner was not too prescriptive of what he wants. He just said advantages. So you can give either economic advantages, you can give social advantages. But the question, you must make sure that you account for A and you account for B because it says describe two advantages of living in settlement A rather than in settlement B. So you must state why is it important or why is it advantageous to live at A and why is it disadvantage to live at B. So you cannot just say you must account for both because you are comparing here. Then 1.3.5 settlement A and B depend on each other for their survival. Discuss the interdependence relationship that exists between settlement A and B. So, how does settlement A benefit settlement B? So, this one over here, you can see you don't see any school here. So it means a person who lives here will have to go to school there. You see the shop here, the person who lives there will have to go to shop there. But here you can see there's a bigger farm production here. There's a bigger farm production. So this farmer will also take all these resources to settlement B. So to settlement A. So the people in settlement A, they are going to get their resources or their food products from settlement A. From settlement B. Why do I keep on saying A and B in opposite? So these ones, they're going to get these resources for schools, the resources for shops, they're going to get them from A. But these ones at A, they're going to get these farm products from B. So that is the interdependent. So you can say this is how the two settlements are helping each other for existence. So you can say the two settlements are compatible. They exist together. Explain why the shop in settlement A would have a larger range of products than the farm stall in settlement B. So if you are looking at the hierarchy of settlements, you'll see this one is at the lowest and this one is at the highest. So we said the services increase when you move up the order. When you move up the order or when you move up the hierarchy. Explain why the shops in settlement A would have a larger range of products than the farm stall in settlement B. Because there is more people that is buying from there. There are more people that are buying from there. And number two is because A will be at the higher hierarchy, or in the hierarchy, it's going to be higher than settlement B, and this one will be a higher order center compared to this one over here. So those will be the reasons why A will have more and B will have less. Now, what do we have here? Informal settlements. Okay, informal settlements are some of the challenges that we find in rural, in urban areas. So when it comes to informal settlement, it is very important when looking at informal settlements. You must look at informal settlements are also called urban issues. As much as informal settlements are part of them, as much as informal settlements are part of the land uses, they are also what we call urban issues. We have a number of urban issues. We have informal settlements, like I said. We have traffic congestion. We have overcrowding. We have crime. We have a number of urban issues. And then when you speak of urban issues and injustices, an injustice is simply referring to the unfair treatment or unfair sharing of resources. You can have social injustice. Social injustice will be unfair treatment. And when you're talking about economic injustice, it will be unfair sharing of resources. Informal, it will be unfair sharing of resources. That will be an economic injustice. Now, here is the first question. Here it says, what is an informal settlement, or define the concept informal settlement? So what is an informal settlement? It simply refers to a settlement that is built without the permission of the government. An informal settlement is the government that is built without the permission of the government. That is an informal settlement. And then name the cause of the people's death. Okay, this one, I'm not going to go through this one. How many people? I'm not going through this one. Again, okay, I'm not going through this one because these are only based on this extract. These are only based on this extract. But what is our interest? Our interest is the concepts. So, code 3 problems informal settlement experiences. So, this, even if it is not there, it is also a concept. It's very important for you to know what are the challenges that are facing people that are living in informal settlements. Number one, there is no service delivery. That's number one. No service delivery in informal settlements. Number two, poor or no infrastructure. Poor or no infrastructure. Okay. Again, there is high crime rate. High crime rate. Why high crime rate? Because the reason why people live in informal settlement. So when we're looking at the informal settlement, number one, you must look at number one, the reasons why do we have many informal settlements. And number two, when you're doing informal settlements, you must look at the challenges. And then number three, when you're looking at informal settlements, you must look at the possible solutions or sustainable solutions. How do we help people living in informal settlement? So number one, the reasons why people live in informal settlement is because there is high level of rural urban migration, or we can say is because of high urbanization rate. High urbanization rate. There are many people coming to urban areas, and when they get to urban areas, they can't find jobs, but they need house or they need accommodation. So they are going to stay in informal settlement just to have shelter. Number two, there is unemployment. There is high unemployment. Reasons is rural urban migration. That's number one. Rural urban migration. That's the first reason why people move. Now, why do we have informal settlement? Number two is because of unemployment. People do not have money to buy houses. Number three is because of poverty, which is also related to unemployment. Number three, there is also shortage of houses. There's also shortage of houses because number one, you can go into the informal settlement. There are some informal settlements that you can find in South Africa and in Gauteng, which are made of high quality buildings. They are made of high quality buildings. But they are still informal settlements because they were built without the government's permission. But they are still informal. But when you look at those houses, you can see people are employed, but there were no houses available for them. So they built houses for themselves. So another reason is because there's shortages of houses. And there is also a slow building of RDP houses, or the slow provision of RDP houses. And now, what are the challenges that face people that are living in informal settlements? Number one, the people that live in informal settlement, the big challenge there is there's a high level of poverty. Because of high level of poverty, there are no services that they are receiving. There is no infrastructure. There is high crime rate in those informal settlements. The areas are not accessible. The material that is used there is highly flammable. The living conditions are unhealthy because number one, they do not receive services for removal of refuse. So they are unable to, the refuse is always around them. There's always dirty area around them because they don't receive that municipality services of removing the dustbins. So because of that, the area become unhealthy. So that is one of the challenges that they face. And then what are the possible solutions? The possible solutions is that the government can expedite or they can speed up the rolling out of houses, RDP houses. They can speed up the rolling out of RDP houses. That's the one. Number two. Number two, what can the government do? The government can make sure that they build infrastructure for people. Simple infrastructure like roads for them to be having an access for accessibility. Number two, they can also provide them with building materials that some people are very skilled, they can build for themselves if the building material is made available. Number three, we said they also have a challenge in terms of crime. So there can be regular patrol of police officers into the place so that they can help to prevent crime that could take place. So those are some of the factors that can be that can be assisted in order to help the people. He says these are the solutions to that. So when you get into examination question and you see the informal settlement, you must know number one, informal settlement is a settlement that is built without the consent or without the permission of the municipality. But do not confuse informal settlement to informal sector. I think we'll talk about informal sector when we're looking at economic geography. So this is the other question. This is another question on informal settlement. When you look at this question here is similar to that question. Here it says, what is the other name for informal settlement in South Africa? Provide another name for informal settlement in South Africa. And describe two characteristics of informal settlement that are evident. So evident for informal settlement, the characteristics is now number one, there is no infrastructure, the houses are closer to each other, the houses are clustered, there is poor building material, and the building material cannot protect them from any weather conditions. No. Two social challenges affecting the people living in informal settlements. Okay, those are the challenges that we have already spoken: high crime rate, poverty, spread of diseases because of unhygienic conditions, because municipality is not collecting rubbish there. So the flies and everything that can spread a disease, and the rodents and everything, they can spread those diseases easy because the area is not clean, because there is no services from the municipality. Then in a paragraph, of 8 lines suggest how the municipality. So we have already given a suggestion. So what does it show you now? We are looking at the second question on informal settlement with the same questions. So as I said here, remember when it comes to informal settlement, remember what are the causes of informal settlement? Why do we have a lot of informal settlements in South Africa? Number two, the impacts. And then what are the possible solutions? So you can look at the impacts, or you can see the challenges that are facing the informal settlement. So now, when you're looking at this one, another name, describe two characteristics of the informal settlement that are evident. So you can see no proper infrastructure, no proper houses or building materials. You can see here, what do you see here? No roads. You cannot see power lines there. No. So these are the challenges that you can see. So this is an open-ended question. Everybody should get 2 out of 2 here. Social challenges. Everybody should get 2 out of 2 or 6 out of 6 or whatever. The marks will be allocated here. And line suggest how the municipality government address the challenge, how to help the people that are living in informal settlement. So this one is also correct. Now we're going back to land use zones. So define the term urban sprawl. This is uncontrolled growth of urban area, like what you have seen in the previous. We said number one, you need to master your concept. If you master your concept, you'll be able to do well in your examination, because now define the term urban sprawl. If you have answered the question there in the multiple question, multiple choice questions, or in those short questions, if you get this question again, you'll be able to answer it, because you have already seen what urban sprawl. It is uncontrolled expansion of urban area. Identify land use area A and B respectively. So what do you see there? For the fact that A is in the center, is going to be the CBD, and also because of the tall buildings there, you will see there is a tall buildings. That's the CBD. Sorry. And then what do you see here? So what you see here, the land use area A and B. So this one, as you're looking at, this will be your green belts. Provide a reason why area A would most likely expand into area B. Why is it going to expand into this area? It's going to expand into this area because there you can see there are no buildings there. You can see there's going to be, it is flat, and then this is where it's going to build. Now you see you have what you call here, you have river or dam, we have water masses here. You have this area that is making this particular area cooler. So once now this area grows into this area, that is what we call now urban sprawl. Now it is now growing uncontrollably. It's now taking over the area that was left for a particular purpose. This area over there was left for a particular purpose, to make this area cooler and to make this particular area beautiful. Now this area is going to grow into this one, and this is going to make what we call urban sprawl. Explain the main function of B regarding the expansion of area A. Explain the main function of B. What is the function of B? It makes the area cooler. It provides aesthetic beauty. It lowers the temperatures. So now once it expands here, it means now is going to result in this urban area becoming warmer and warmer, because there will be fewer trees to absorb carbon dioxide. Name 3 advantages of area B. So we have already spoken about the advantages of green belts. It makes the area cooler in terms of temperatures. It brings about aesthetic beauty. It absorbs carbon dioxide. So it absorbs CO2, absorbs carbon dioxide. It makes the area cooler, reduces urban heat island. It is also habitat. It is also a habitat for number of species that are living there. Explain how new towns can solve the problem of expanding of area A into the protected area. So, how can the cities reduce urban sprawl? Explain how new towns can solve the problem of expanding of area A into the protected area. So this is the protected area A. What can the cities do in order to reduce that process of that area growing into there? So they can have legislations that are going to stop the expansion. They can ensure that they do decentralization of this. So whatever the functions they want to move here, they can move them into another area apart from this one, which is the decentralization. They can also ensure that they do what you call counter urbanization, move the services into rural areas, move people to rural areas so that the job can be in rural areas and people don't have to come in urban areas to destroy this natural environment. Let's now quickly go through the economic geography and see what what you can expect. You said number one, you need to master your concepts. So we're going to be looking at the sectors of economy. We look at primary activity, secondary, tertiary, quaternary. Then you're going to look at your industrial regions. And under industrial regions, we'll just briefly go through PWV and Southwestern Cape. Remember, these are the ones that have been chosen for 2024 examination. Then we briefly go through coal farming and coal mining and beef farming. And we look at your SDI and IDZ, the West Coast and the Saldanha IDZ. Then we look at the formal sector. Then we look at food security and food insecurity. Without much waste of time, let's quickly go through the questions that we have here. It says, choose the correct weights or weight given in brackets, write only the weights next to the question number in the answer book, e.g., okay, light industry. Now, let's look at here, 2.2.1, industries that cover large area and tend to cause more air pollution. That will be heavy industries. A power station is an example of raw material orientated because a power station is built closer to the coal mine. The location of food-loose industries is not determined by the location factors such as raw material or transport or market. So a food industry is an industry. Its location is not influenced by either the raw material or the market. It's called a food-loose industry. But what you should know with the ubiquitous industry, ubiquitous industry is an industry that can be found anywhere, but so long as there is a market. But when you look at the food-loose, it's not influenced by raw material, transport, or market. But ubiquitous industry is influenced by the market. Light or heavy industry can be located around the CBD. It will be light industry. Heavy industries are located far from the CBD because they cause a lot of pollution. Market raw material orientated industry generally produce low order and perishable goods. Those are your market orientated, like your bakery. Your bakery is a market orientated industry because it is located closer to the CBD, or which is closer to the market. So when we define a market orientated, in definition, you say it's an industry located closer to the customers. That is your market orientated. So the customers for this industry will be the CBD. The bridge industry or raw material orientated industry are located near harbors where raw material are imported. So it cannot be raw material because it speaks of a bridge, which means it will be for transportation. So it is the bridge industry. Ubiquitous or market orientated industry like telecommunications are not determined by any specific location requirements. So it cannot be market orientated because market orientated it's influenced by something specific there. The specific that influence market orientated is the availability of customers or the market. But ubiquitous industries like telecommunications are not determined by any specific location requirements. Okay, now we have to look at this. You're choosing the correct weight, and then to make the sentence correct, you not to make the sentence correct, that fits the description here. Industries that make use of mostly machinery and technological equipment in the processing operations. What are those? These are it makes use of mostly machinery, technological equipment in their processing operations. Which industries are this? These are your capital intensive industries. These industries are not influenced by either raw material or market. So this will be your footloose industries. These ones will be your footloose. They are not influenced by either the market or raw material. Refers to the location of manufacturing concerned factories and businesses in certain core areas where bulk services are provided. So what is this? This is what we call agglomeration. Agglomeration. So agglomeration, this is referred to the location of manufacturing concerns, factories and businesses. They can be together. So for an example, in your IDZ can be your agglomeration because it's an industrial development zone. That is your purpose-built industrial estate. It's a purpose-built industrial estate, which means that estate is for the industries. So your IDZ is an example of agglomeration. When you go to a shopping center or a shopping mall is an agglomeration because these businesses, there are businesses that are together there. It is agglomeration. Refers to the location of manufacturing concerns, either factories and businesses in certain core areas where bulk services are provided. So it can be you going to a shopping center. When you go to a shopping center is an example of agglomeration because all the shops are, even if the shops are not doing the same thing, but they're not selling the same product, but all shops are selling products. So that's agglomeration. So you must differentiate between agglomeration and centralization. Now, when you speak of centralization now, we're referring to now, there must be the city center. When you speak of centralization, there must be a city center that we are referring to. But when you're speaking of agglomeration, we're simply referring to coming together of those businesses. And on top of that, there is another concept that we call amalgamation. Amalgamation. So the first thing that comes to my head when I speak of amalgamation is ABSA. ABSA, which means Amalgamated Banks of South Africa. South Africa had many banks in previously. It had many banks. So those businesses or those banks, they now lost their names and now they came together to make one business. So that is agglomeration. Not agglomeration, sorry. That is amalgamation because now they have now become one. That is amalgamation. But when you speak of agglomeration, they come together. So you find there is Truworths and there is Woolworths and there is Pep and there is all other shops together. But each shop is independent of each other. Each shop is selling its own products. But once it becomes amalgamation, now they become one thing. Like those banks, your Volkskas Bank, your Pem Bank, you won't know them. Those old banks, they have come together and they lost their name. They lost their individual names and now they used one name, which is called Amalgamated Banks of South Africa. Okay. Now, type of employment where labor is registered. So once they speak of registered, so it simply means that this is formal business. Activities concerned with changing the primary products into a value added. So into a value added one by including labor, energy, premises. So what is this thing here? This is secondary. This one is secondary. We say type of here we said it is formal because it's registered, and then refer to the location of manufacturing concerns. We said this one over here is agglomeration, and we said a shopping center is an example of agglomeration. And then industry that make use of mostly here, we said they are capital intensive industries. And then this type of businesses can locate anywhere. They can locate anywhere. These industries are your footloose industries. They can locate anywhere. Um, Actually, this ones will be not your footloose. This one will be your ubiquitous industries. This will be your ubiquitous industries. Over there, type of industries located at the source of the raw material. Source of the raw material. The question at the source of raw material. So they will be these ones that are raw material orientated. These are your raw material orientated because they are close raw material orientated. And now let's move on to the next question. Match each type of industry. So we did this. We are going to just continue. Vodacom is an example of this type of industry. It's an ubiquitous industry. So if you look at the ubiquitous industries, most of the ubiquitous industry, uh, you must know that ubiquitous industries, some of the ubiquitous industries, not most of them, some of them, they are not manufacturing industries. They are service industries, like Vodacom, like MTN, everywhere you go. They are service industries. You find them anywhere you go. Vodacom is an example of this. So Vodacom is not a manufacturing industry. It's a service industry. Location is determined by a bulk and heavy raw material. So these ones will be the raw material orientated. Raw material orientated. Vodacom is an example of ubiquitous industry, located in built-up areas as they produce little or no pollution. So which one produces little or no pollution and they can be found? This will be your light industries. For an example, we go inside a shop, you go inside Pick and Pay, you go inside Spar, you can find an industry inside those shops. You can find a bakery inside them. And a bakery is an example of a light industry, pollute less. So you find an industry inside a shop because that industry does not produce a lot of pollution. So these are the located in built up areas as they produce little or no pollution. So those are the light industries. You can also find the bigger bakeries outside the shops where the shops can go and buy bread. So those are the light industries. Locate closer to customers. Customers. What is customer? Customer is a market. Customer is a market. So this will be your market orientated industries. We did this for the second time now. The sketch below shows what's happening here. Okay, the sketch below types of farming. Now, what do we have to do here? We're looking at types of farming. Farming that produces high yield per hectare. It is going to be B here, high yield per hectare, because they use machinery there. Associated with extensive farming practices, it will be your A because they don't use a lot of efforts. They don't fertilize the soil and what have you. Products for the home and export market is going to be B. Farming described as a small scale is going to be A, small scale there. Farming associated with monoculture is going to be B. This is monoculture, meaning that there is one product that is being produced there, and this one, it is mixed farming. It is mixed farming, and this one contributes to food security. This one is local. Local food security. This one produces it ensures that there is food security for local communities, but this one ensures that there is food security for the entire country. So this one ensures that there is food security for the entire country. Farming that is capital intensive and uses advanced technology is going to be B. Farming that focuses on food security in local communities. So this one is local communities. This will be A. And farming that produces a low yield per hectare is also going to be A. So local food security, but this one is going to be food security for local and also for national. Okay, food security, you must be able to define the concept of food security. So, food security, when you define food security, you say when everybody in the country has access to nutritious food. When everybody in the country have access to nutritious food. So, the food must be accessible. What do we mean by accessible? The food people must be able to afford food, and people must be able to get where the food is. So that is what food security. Access to nutritious food. When everybody in the country have access to nutritious food to live a healthy lifestyle. And you must know food security has got the opposite, which is food insecurity. When there is a shortage of food or not everybody in the country has access to nutritious food, and there's a danger of famine and malnutrition. This is food insecurity. When not everybody in a country have access to nutritious food, and there's a danger of malnutrition and famine. But food security is when everybody in the country has access to food, has access to nutritious food to live healthy lifestyle. So that is your food security. Everybody in the country has access to nutritious food to live a healthy lifestyle. And then how many people in South Africa experience food security? Okay, this one is extract based. I'm not going to go through that. I'm only going to go through the concepts that can be in the next examination. State one factor that resulted in people being food insecure. So this will be coming from that. So but this also is a concept which we can talk about. What is going to make people to be food insecure? Number one, people will be food insecure because of poverty, because of unemployment. It can be food security because of droughts, because of, okay, the factors that can make people to be food insecure. Number one is high prices of food. High prices of food can make people to be food insecure. Number two, unemployment can make people to be food insecure. Number three, poverty. Poverty will make people to be food insecure. Number three, loss of jobs. Remember, loss of jobs and unemployment is the different things. Unemployed means you don't have job, but loss of job, it means you had job, but now you no longer have a job. So that is loss of jobs. And then number three, you can talk about some natural disasters like your flooding, like climate change. You can talk about the number of factors that are contribute to food insecurity. Which province had a high number of children under the age of 5 living in hunger? So this one, you will get these answers from the extract. I'm not going to look at that. I'm looking at the concept here. Suggest how the South African government can assist household experiencing food insecurity. Okay, this one is a concept that we can discuss. What can the government do in order to help people government can assist household experience food insecurity? Number one, can have skill development so that they can produce food. You can train people how to produce their own food, because you cannot keep on feeding people when people, that becomes unsustainable. That becomes unsustainable. So skill development. And also, because now we're talking about the people that have food insecurity, we can also talk about uh, and speed up land reform. Make sure that people have land where they can cultivate where they can produce their own food. Speed up land reform. Make sure that people are able to produce their own food. What can the government do? Even if this is not an easy thing. Create employment. Create employment. Creating employment is a very difficult thing, but it is just one of the answers that you can give there. Create employment. Now, what can the government do? The government can attract foreign investment, attract foreign investors. So when the government attract foreign investors, the foreign investors can create can come and create jobs for people. So what else can the government do? I want to avoid the situation whereby we're talking about the food parcels. Okay, you can bring those into question, but these are not sustainable strategies for people. You can talk about the grants, but these are not sustainable. So when you're looking at, remember, we need sustainable strategies. You can give them food parcel. Like I said, skill development, because we don't want to be giving people food. We don't want to be giving people grants so that they can buy food. We need to make people to be self-sufficient so that they are able to produce food for themselves. Also, we can teach them about farming practices. You can teach people about farming practices. You can also encourage you can encourage food garden for people that have some land where they can plant. You can encourage them to do encourage food garden by giving them seeds to grow own food. You see what I'm doing here? I'm avoiding to give the facts that you say give people this, which is not sustainable. I'm avoiding to make people consumers. So in geography, we want sustainable strategies. We want sustainable strategies that can be helping people. If I give you grant today or I give you food parcel today, it means next month I must do the same. But if you have a skill to grow your own food, next time you are able to do it. If you have land where you can grow your own food, it means you are able to do that. If I give you seed today, you grow your own food. The food that you're going to produce is going to give the seeds. Then you can give the seeds, you can take the seeds and grow the food for yourself in future. So that is sustainable. Be careful. You must look to solutions that are more sustainable. I'm not saying these once-off solutions are not solutions, but they are putting a burden on the government. We need to look at the more sustainable strategies. Okay. Now the next one is define informal sector. So informal sector as opposed to informal settlement, this is unregistered businesses. Informal sector simply refer to unregistered businesses. Who is beating the heart of South Africa's inner cities? According to this, it says the informal sector. Quote two types of products that are sold by informal sector. So if you get these questions in your examination, you must be able to get this 3 marks for free because it's something that you quote from the extract. You quote this from the extract. So as you quote this from the extract, it becomes easy for you to get those answers. But because they are not the actual concepts of what is informal sector, I'm not going to go into that. But you know what is informal sector? It's a concept that you need to master. It's a concept that you need to master to be able to define. Name two factors from the extract that cause profits to vary. Now, why do profits vary from informal sector? So, what you need to know about informal sector is the same thing that you need to know with the informal settlement. Number one is the reasons. Why do we have informal sector? The same reason why we have informal settlement is the same reason. Is we have informal sector because of high unemployment rate. We have informal sector because of high unemployment. We have informal sector because of rural urban migration. We have informal sector because of people losing jobs from the formal sector. That's why we're having informal sector. So you need to know the reasons for informal sector. And now you also need to know what are the challenges that people face in the informal sector. Number one, in the informal sector, people work long hours. People work long hours there. And they work for long hours for little income. As much as the income is little, it is also irregular. You cannot tell how much you're going to make per day. Unlike other people that go to their work, they know my work, I get 3,000 a month, or I get 5,000 a month, or 10,000, or 100,000 a month, or whatever amount I get a month. So those people know how much they get. But the income for informal sector is irregular. What are the challenges? So some challenges, they can be harassment, harassment by local people, it can be harassment by officials, and then again, their work is prone to climatic conditions. Is affected by climate. If somebody is working on the street, if it rains, it means there's no income for them. So that is the challenge that they are facing. Now, for your informal sector, you must be able to also state what are the sustainable strategies. How can we help the people that are working in this sector? How can we make their lives better? The people that are working in the informal sector. Number one, what can we do to help them? We can regulate. Number one, I'm not saying we can register, not register, but regulate. Solutions. Number one, we can regulate. And then regulating how they work and where they work. Like how, so that they don't affect each other, or they don't affect other existing formal sector, because that, if they affect other formal sector, then there's going to be a conflict, and the conflict, usually the informal sectors are the ones that are losing most. So you can regulate their operations. Once they are well regulated, you mean now you are going to give them a demarcated area to work at. You give them a demarcated area to work at, and then you can give them stalls where they can keep their stock. You can also assist them with funding. The government can assist them with funding. The government can assist them with education, education, education and skill development, education and skill development. So the government can assist them in a number of ways. So those are the questions that are concepts that you need to know. You need to know, why do we have informal sector? Number two, you need to know what are the challenges that are facing informal sector, and what are the possible solutions that can be implemented to help people that are involved in informal sector. And one of the things that you must know, you must read your question through. If the question says, what is an informal sector? You cannot say it is a person. You must know informal sector is businesses, is a sector. But when you say, what is an informal trader? You must know it's a person who owns an unregistered business. is a person, but sector simply refer to the businesses themselves. So you must be careful how you answer the question. You must answer the question in the context in which the question was asked. Don't just answer the question, because if they say what is informal sector and you say it's a person, you're not going to get a mark. Or if you say what's an informal trader, then you say it is unregistered businesses. A person is not a business. You will not get a mark. So make sure that you read your question through so that you understand what the question say, so that you can answer the question in the correct content, in the correct context. Otherwise, you're going to miss your mark. Okay, now one of the questions or the topics that you're going to do is IDZ. So you need to know a definition what IDZ stands for. IDZ stands for Industrial Development Zone. It stands for Industrial Development Zone. And then as much as you know what IDZ stands for, it stands for Industrial Development Zone, you must also know what is an IDZ, because those are two different questions. What does IDZ stands for and what is an IDZ are two different things. Then you know in IDZ is a purpose-built industrial estate, is a purpose-built industrial estate to promote export. Is a purpose-built, it's a purpose-built, it is a purpose-built industrial estate to promote export. Purpose-built industrial estate to promote export. So that is your IDZ. Name two alternative energy sources in Southwestern Cape used to generate electricity. So those are simply available there. You can see them there. It will be your oil and your gas. They are simply there. It's an oil and gas. But because these are the questions that are based on the extract, it's not the concepts, it's the question that are based on the extract. We can move through them. Give two reasons why Saldanha Bay has potential for economic growth. So now this one over here is a concept. You need to understand what is going to make Saldanha Bay grow. Number one, it is because Saldanha Bay is the deep pot. Saldanha Bay is the deep pot of the Saldanha. Is the deep pot of Saldanha Bay. That deep pot is the one that is making export to be easy, because even the bigger ships can go there. Number two, what is the factor that makes it is the infrastructure. Saldanha Bay has a well-developed infrastructure. And then what else do you have there? You have investment, you have foreign investment there. There's a lot of outside companies from other countries that are investing there. So those make it possible. So the deep pot makes it easy for what? Make it easy for trade. Number two, infrastructure also make it easy. So when you speak of infrastructure, that question is very open. We're not only talking about road infrastructure. We're talking about the Wi-Fi networks. So it's easy for people to communicate when they are there. We're talking about road transport. It makes it easy for accessibility, for export, for accessing local and international market, because it is also at the coast. So it's easy access to the local and international market because of the harbor. Road transport makes it easy, railway network easy. So these are the factors that makes it, these are the factors that favors. So when we were teaching you that what are the factors that favors industrial development? Now, here it doesn't say that. It says, give two reasons why Saldanha Bay has potential for economic growth. You see now, it is not going to come as simple as how you were taught in class. So now you say, reasons why Saldanha Bay has potential for economic growth. Now, what are you looking at here? You're looking, what are the factors that favors industrial development in Saldanha Bay? So you say, potential for economic growth. I've never come across this. We have done this in classroom, but the questions will not come as straightforward as that. Now, why is it going to grow? Factors that favors industrial development. Development will be that growth. So you need to look at those factors. Explain the main factors that hinder industrial development in the Southwestern Cape Industrial Region. So what are those factors? Now, number one, you can talk about factors that hinders. You did these factors. You say there is limited land for expansion. You said there is limited land for expansion, and then you're talking about it far from local market. Because it is far in the Western Cape, it is also far from local market. It is far from local market because it is in the Western Cape. You can imagine people from Gauteng, how long they will travel to go there. You can imagine people from Northwest, from Mpumalanga, from all other provinces, how long they will travel to go there. So it is far from local market. Another one is that is why they were talking about the oil and gas companies that are providing electricity. It is far from the coal fields. It is far from the coal fields, and therefore the electricity from Eskom become so. Another problem there is a source of energy. Another challenges there is electricity. And another factor will also factors that will hinder industrial development there. Remember, Western Saldanha Bay is in the Western Cape. So one of the factors will be water availability. It will be water availability because it's on the west coast, so it's influenced by the cold Benguela current. With cold Benguela current, there is less evaporation, less condensation, and therefore less rainfall. So the rainfall decreases when you move towards the west of the continent or towards the west of the country. It increases to the east. So shortage of water will be one of the factors that are going to hinder that. Now, explain two advantages of industrial decentralization for the core industrial regions in South Africa. Explain two advantages of industrial decentralization for the core industrial regions in South Africa. So, with the development of the IDZ, what did it mean now? It means now the focus is no longer going to be in the core industrial region. Remember, your core industrial region is your PWV, is Durban Pinetown, is Southwestern Cape, and is Port Elizabeth Uitenhage. This is where industrialization was centralized. But because of this, it meant now there was a lot of pressure on these areas. And because of that, there was a lot of air pollution. There was a lot of exploitation of resources. And there was a lot of challenges for this area. Now, explain two advantages of industrial decentralization for the core industrial regions of South Africa. It means now there is going to be less pollution because not everybody will be going to these main industrial regions only. There are other IDZ. We said IDZ, they are industrial estates. So what are they doing? They are reducing the pressure from the core industries. There's going to be less pollution on this industrial area. So as there is less pollution, there's going to be less pressure on resources. There's going to be less pressure on resources. There's going to be less congestion. There's going to be less congestion on these resources. And then it will also reduce rural urban migration. It will reduce rural-urban migration. So these places will not have a lot of people that move into those. Uh, Explain two advantages of industrial center for the core. So you need to tell what is going to happen. There's going to be less people going there, and then less pollution. There's going to be less pressure on resources. So the electricity, water resources, they will be under less pressure. The houses that are available in those areas will be under less pressure. Um, Less traffic congestion because not all industries are found here. Uh, so these areas are going to have a less pressure, and therefore it's going to be important for them. So these are the concept. This is a concept that you can expect this kind of questions. You can expect this kind of questions from your examination because these are the conceptual questions. These are the concept questions that you can get. But these other questions here, which I've highlighted here, which are simply found on the extract, we're not paying too much attention to them, but we're looking at the actual concepts of what we are doing. Okay, refer to the infographic on beef farming. Okay, identify two provinces that contribute to. Okay, I think this one you need to know where beef is farmed in South Africa. And as you can see here, we see Eastern Cape, we see Free State, KwaZulu Natal, Mpumalanga, Northwest. These are the key areas. But I think KZN is the key one, followed by Eastern Cape, Free State. Those are the key areas where beef is found. So, but most of the questions on most of the questions on the economic geography, especially these parts, will not be questions that come on their own. Uh, they are usually based on either an extract or on an infographic. You can see this is an infographic. There's a table there, there's a graph there, and there's an extract there. So it will be based on something like this, where you can read and extract information from. State the general trend with regard to South Africa's beef exports between 2019 and to 2023. So all you need to do when you're looking at that, you need to look at the trend there. Is it increasing or is it decreasing? So that is the trend that you need to do. State the general trend. So you say it is increasing or is it decreasing? So that is the trend that you need to look at. Give evidence from the extract. So according to this, the trend there, it is decreasing. But okay, give evidence from the extract that in recent years, the South African beef industry was negatively influenced or affected by okay, physical factor and economic factor. So what you do, you're going to read from this and you will give that based on the extract. It's going to be based on the extract. So now we can simply change this and look at it. What will be the physical factors and what will be the economic factors that can affect beef farming? The physical factors will be things like diseases or the spread of diseases. It can be climate change or it can be drought, it can be floods. Those will be the physical factors. And the economic factors will be factors like unemployment. It will be those factors that can influence beef production. How can small-scale beef farming contribute to household food security? So this is a concept. This is a concept which you need to pay attention to. How can small-scale farming, small-scale beef farming contribute to household food security? How can it contribute to food security? Beef farming. So number one, beef farming, it produces protein. It produces protein. So beef farming is going to produce protein for people. We said, what is food security? Food security is when everybody has got access to nutritious food. So beef farming is going to ensure that households have food that are high in nutrition, that have high protein. Number two, can also look at, what are you looking at? Beef farming is going to ensure that there is employment. Employment. So if there is employment, then people can afford food. And then again, beef security. I mean, beef farming is going to ensure that there is skill development. There is skill development. Now, if people have skills, now people are able to work. And if people are able to work, people are able to buy food for themselves. So that is the importance. How can small scale beef farming contribute to household food security? How can beef farming make sure that people have got food for themselves? People, number one, we said people will have nutritious food, will have protein. People will have employment. And when people have employment, people can buy their own food. We said skill development, food security result in skill development. I mean, beef farming result in skill development, because for you to be a farmer, for you to be able to make sure that you produce good quality beef, what must happen? You must have skills. So once you have skills, you can find jobs. Once you get jobs, now you are able to buy food for yourself. So that is how it can contribute. Why will a new beef export market positively affect a country's economy? Why will a new beef export market positively affect the country's economy? So what does this question mean? What does this question mean? This question means if there are other people who want to buy beef from South Africa, how will South Africa benefit? Why will a new beef export market, how is it going to help? How is it going to affect the country's economy? Number one, more beef will be produced. More beef will be produced for export market. Number one, that's how it's going to boost the economy. More beef will be produced for export market. Now, how is that going to help? There is going to be more employment for people. There's going to be more employment for people. Now, how will this positively affect the country's economy? Now, when you're talking about the country's economy, what are you talking about the GDP. So what's going to happen to the GDP? This is going to contribute. It's going to contribute to the GDP of the country. It's going to contribute to the GDP of the country, because now there's more beef that is to be produced. There's more beef that's going to be produced. So you're looking at how will a new beef export market? Remember, if you have a certain market and now you have reached your benchmark with your market, you know you are only producing 1,000 or 1,000 cattle, or you're producing 10,000 kilograms of beef per month. That's it. And now you know how much you are earning. But if the new market comes, it means now you have to produce more than what you are producing. So if you produce more than what you're producing, you're going to export the products. And when you export the products, you're going to get more money. So that is what it means by this question. Why will a new beef export market positively affect the country's economy? Then let's go to the question. Refer to the extract and map of the Saldanha Bay Industrial Development Zone, or IDZ. In which province is the Saldanha Bay? This should be an easy question. It is in the Western Cape. From the extract state, 2 industries that IDZ port infrastructure supports. So when you get here, this one is based from the extract. You'll get the answers from the extract. What positive social contribute to this industry? What positive social contributions to these industries? Okay, now, this one is a concept. What you need to know, the importance. You need to know the importance of IDZ. What is the positive social contribution to these industries? What positive social contribution do these industries make? What do they make? What is the positive? What do they do? Industries, what do they do? They make sure that there are products for local people. These are the industries. So the first thing is that there's going to be products for local people because there are industries that are manufacturing products. What's the next one? There's going to be job creation. It's going to result in job creation for people. People will be able to work because there are industries around them. What else is going to happen? There is jobs. People are going to earn income. People are going to earn income. What is the importance of the IDZ? It's going to reduce poverty. It's going to reduce poverty. Now, if it reduces poverty, what does it do to the quality of life for people? It's going to improve the quality of life for people. So, these are the concepts. These are the concepts that you need to know about the importance of the IDZ. So, when you're looking at the importance of the IDZ, don't only look at them in terms of social. This question is a very good question. It talks about social. It can also talk about the economic. So when it talks about the economy, then you have to talk about money. Again, now it creates jobs and therefore it creates an opportunity for people to earn income. It creates jobs and makes opportunity for people to gain income. So these are it improves the quality of life for people. And then somebody who stole food last day or last year because they were unemployed. They stole food from somebody or from the shop because they were unemployed. They could not afford. Now they are working. Are they still going to steal food? So it's going to reduce crime. It's going to reduce crime for the community. Those will be the social advantage. It's going to reduce crime. Explain how the infrastructure makes industries more competitive in the Southwestern. Now, this question is nice and very open. It talks about explain how the infrastructure makes industries more competitive in the Southwestern region. Infrastructure. So it is not specific to any infrastructure. Now, we can now look at how the infrastructure. So this one over here is a concept. It's not based on this one. It's not based on this one. And then when I'm still at this one, after answering this question, I'll want to talk about a few things about the Saldanha Bay, West Coast, and the Saldanha Bay. I'm going to talk about the Saldanha Bay, IDZ, West Coast, and Southwestern Cape. I'm going to talk about this. But firstly, let me start first by going to explain how the infrastructure makes industries more competitive in the Southwestern Cape industrial region. Wow, this is a very rich question, but it's very easy. This is a very easy. So you see 8 marks. So this is a easy paragraph question. This is one of the easiest paragraph questions that you can get in your life. So paragraph questions are not always difficult. Now, let's start first talking about road. Let's start talking about road. What will be the how will road uh, 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 um, how will road infrastructure make uh, uh, um, make industries more competitive? So road infrastructure is going to provide access to the local market. Road infrastructure is going to make access to local market. Number two, let's talk about water transport. Water transport is going to make access to international market. It's going to make access to international market. So we're talking about infrastructure. Number one, what else are we talking about here? We're talking about electricity. It's infrastructure. Electricity makes sure that there is manufacturing that is taking place. There's easy manufacturing that is taking place. That is the electricity as type of infrastructure. Number two, what are we talking about? We're talking about road infrastructure. We talk about road infrastructure as accessing local market. Let's now talk about road infrastructure as making easy transportation. Easy transportation. So we're still talking about that. We said it make access to local market because of well-developed infrastructure. It also makes easy transportation. We're not talking about market now. We're talking about transportation. It makes it easy transportation. But is this all the infrastructure we can talk about? We can talk about fiber. We can talk about fiber. The fiber infrastructure. The fiber infrastructure make it easy for communication to take place. Industries are able to access through internet, check their products if their products have arrived. Again, you can also again talk about road infrastructure on top of this. Remember when talking about Western Cape, most of the industries in the Western Cape are light industries. Most of the industries in the Western Cape are light industries. And the reason why we have more light industries in the Western Cape is because Western Cape has got a lot of farms. And then there is fewer minerals. There is fewer minerals that you find in the Western Cape. It does not mean that there are no minerals, because in the Western Cape we also have steel. We also have steel industries in the Western Cape. That is why you have the ArcelorMittal industry that you find in the PWV. You also find the ArcelorMittal industry in the Western Cape that is doing steel industry. Because remember, Western Cape, the type of industries that you'll find in the Western Cape, you'll find the ship repair and ship manufacturing. So how do they make the ship? They make the ship from the steel that comes from the raw, that is coming from the raw material that they find in the Western Cape. So as much as there is limited raw material, but there is also not raw material, not raw material. Western Cape has raw material. But most of the raw material in the Western Cape is in the form of fruit and veggies. Is in the form of fruit and veggies. And there is short of minerals. Western Cape has plenty of raw material, but it has a shortage of minerals. Minerals. So there's a difference between raw material and mineral. Raw material will be used to manufacture anything, but there are different types of raw material. A milk can be raw material. Sugar cane can be raw material to make sugar. In the Western Cape now, in this case, we're talking about the fruit. We're talking about the grapes that makes the wine and stuff. So those are the raw material. But on top of that, we have other what we call minerals that cannot be consumed. We talk about your iron ore. We're talking or the iron and steel. We're talking about your gold, talking about your platinum. Those are the minerals which are rare in the Western coast or in the Western Cape, but they do have raw material, but in a form of fruit and limited minerals. Okay. I hope you understand the difference between raw material and mineral, because mineral is a raw material, but not all raw materials are minerals. Some of the raw material are not minerals. Now, Road infrastructure will also make it easy. Road infrastructure will also make it easy to transport perishable goods, because Western Cape, we said again, it is mainly food products that are produced there, and other light goods that are produced there. So it with a well developed infrastructure, with a well-developed infrastructure, it makes it easy to transport perishable goods. Already from road, we said road access to local market. We said road is making it easy to transport raw material, and road infrastructure is well developed, reduces traffic congestion, because the infrastructure is well developed. Therefore, there's going to be less traffic congestion, and therefore, because of less traffic congestion, it makes it easy to transport perishable goods. It makes it easy to transport perishable goods. So those are the factors that makes infrastructure, or these are infrastructure, how infrastructure make the Southwestern Cape more developed. Now, I said I want to talk about Saldanha Bay, Western Coast, West Coast, and Southwestern Cape. So when you're looking at the Saldanha IDZ, so when we're speaking of an IDZ, we're referring to a purpose-built industrial estate to support export. And Southwestern Cape is an industrial area. So what is happening here? All these are found in the Western Cape. So the factors that favor Saldanha Bay IDZ will be the very same factors that favor Southwestern Cape. For an example, we can talk about what factors favor the Western Cape IDZ industrial area. You can say, is the Saldanha deep port? The very same question can be asked, what is the factor that favors in industrial development in Saldanha Bay? Is the Saldanha deep port? And then, so these will have same factors. This will have the same factors. And then when you're speaking of the West Coast now, remember West Coast is now the SDI. West Coast is not an IDZ. West Coast is the SDI. So what is SDI? SDI stands for Spatial Development Initiative. What does it stand for? It stands for Spatial Development Initiative. And what is this Spatial Development Initiative? This is a transport and communication links, which links this area and this area and this area. So this whole area over here, we can look at it as a West Coast. So we can look at it as a West Coast is a transport and communication link that join major industrial areas and their harbors. Or you can say it's a corridor. It is a corridor, which means it is along. It is like something which is found in like that. It is more like a polygon than a point feature. So you can look at the Saldanha Bay here as a point feature, then you can look at the Cape Town here as a point feature. But now, when you join all these places together with a line, and you join the lines together, you are going to get a polygon. So it's the entire area. So what is actually, or we can look at in terms of the line, because it is a corridor. You can look at it in terms of more of a line than a polygon, because it is joining. So in your definition, they ask you what is an SDI. You say it's a transport and communication network that links main industrial regions and harbors. It is the transport and communication. It is transport and communication links. It is a transport and communication links. What is this transport and communication links doing? It is linking the main industrial areas and the harbors. So this western coast is linking what the Saldanha Bay with Cape Town and all other areas that are found along this. What is joining them is this link. Is this link that we call what? We call it an SDI. We call it the West Coast. We call it the West Coast. So it's a link that is joining these places. So it is called the West Coast. It's called the West Coast. So it's a transport and communication link. So what is the transport and communication link doing? It is joining. What is it joining? It is joining these industrial areas, main industrial areas, to their harbors. Or we can say it is a corridor that joins. A corridor is like a passage. It's like a passage. So it joins point A to point B. So that is your SDI, your West Coast SDI. So let's look at the other questions. Here, Southwestern Cape contributes about 15% of the South African's manufacturing sector. Okay, quote evidence from the infographic which shows that South Africa core industrial region contribute to South Africa. I've already read this, so that is the evidence there. That is the evidence because you are quoting. Because you are quoting, now you have to take it from the extract as it is. State two modes of transport in the infographic that make the Southwestern Cape core industrial region attractive to foreign investors. So this is the same thing. Explain how the infrastructure makes industries more competitive. So we're talking about the road. We're talking about the road. We're talking about the water. The thing that we didn't talk about here is the rail, which means we must also bring it in, the rail transport. So you have all sort of transport here. You have road, rail. So the rail will also link this industrial area to other areas. So state two modes of transport here. What are the modes of transport that you can get there? What are the modes of transport that you get there? So you can see something there. You can see something there. So this is your SDI. This is your SDI there. So you must limit SDI here. So what do you see there? You see N7. N7 will be your road. Then what do you see there? You see the airport. And then what do you see there? So you can give the types, two modes of transport in the infographic that makes the Southwestern Cape core industrial region attractive to foreign investment. Foreign investment. So you can look at, you have this and you have the harbor there. So your air and your air and your water transport. The Southwestern Cape core industrial region is dominated by light industries. Why does the Southwestern Cape core industrial area favor the development of light industries? Because number one, there is more orchards that you find there. There is more farms that you find there. There is more orchards that you find. There is more farms. There is also a lot of the wine production there that is taking place there. That is why you have mostly light industries. Give two factors that have limited the development of heavy industries. Number one, there is shortage of raw material. Shortage of raw material. So we have already answered this question while we were talking about that. There is shortage of raw material here, electricity also, and the distance from the coal fields. Distance from the coal fields. Distance from the coal fields make electricity expensive. Electricity shortage there. And the land also. There's a shortage of land for expansion. There is shortage of land for expansion of the industries in the southwestern Cape. So we know the heavy industries, they need a large flat land. So there is sufficient land for our light industries there. There is a shortage of raw material, not raw material, cancel raw material. I'm very sorry to say raw material. There is shortage of minerals, not raw material. There is shortage of minerals. Please note, minerals and raw materials cannot be used interchangeably. They are not the same thing because there are number of raw materials. Some of the raw materials are minerals. Some of the materials, some of the raw materials are minerals, but not all the raw materials are minerals. Yeah, not all the minerals, not all the raw materials are minerals. Sorry. No, the last thing that you're going to be you're going to write on is going to be on the map work. And then you saw on your map paper one, you didn't write on some of the skills that require you to use the protractors, which is your bearing. Please make sure that maybe you could be writing the questions on that. But now, when you're looking at the map work that you're going to write on, when looking at the map work that you're going to write on, it's going to be mostly on settlement geography. So you will have to be able to identify the road, the street patterns. You have to be able to identify the street patterns, whether the street patterns are grid iron, and you must be able to identify what are the possible challenges of the grid iron pattern. Are the grid iron pattern an example of old residential or new? And then you must also be able to identify, is this a heavy industry on the map? You must be able to identify the dams on the map. You must be able to identify, what are the factors that favor the site of a particular area there. You must be able to identify the economic activities in terms of farming. Farming will be represented in green, and industries will be represented in black. And then you must be able to identify settlements or built up area. The built up area are indicating urban settlements. The built up areas are indicating urban settlements. The built up areas are shown in gray. You must be able to identify that. And these ones can be industries in black. This would be your industries in black or your. So you must be able to identify those in your infrastructure. And then what are you looking at here? You are looking at its N. So when I'm looking at this, so when you're looking at your GIS, what will that information be? Will this information be spatial, or will this information uh, 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 be attribute? So once you see the N, now it describes what type of the road it is. So it becomes attribute. You must be able to look at the river types, dam, sea, climate, and you must be able to identify the height on the map using the contour lines. I think you will be able to do more on your own now. And last thing that I want you to do, please go, and I didn't go through the traffic congestion as part of the challenges in urban areas. Go through traffic congestion as well on your own and check what is the impact of traffic congestion for the industries, and how does traffic congestion affect people, and then what causes traffic congestion. Okay, so you need to go through all those things because this is a summary lesson. I couldn't have gone through everything because if I have to do that, it means I have to be here for 8 hours, doing settlement for 4 hours, and settlement and economic geography for 4 hours, and map work for another 4 hours. So it becomes 12 hours now. So Thank you very much for paying attention and for watching. Uh, Good luck in your examination. Remember, you have to do your sacrifices, your short-term sacrifices for your long-term gain. Make sure that you study and you focus, and we shall see each other in future. I thank you very much.